Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited coming at you live with the second half of our biggest show of the year. Yes, Wrestle Kingdom's done it. WrestleMania has done it. We're going 2 nights, baby. It is part 2 of the 2020 Wrestling Observer Awards, which we call the Meltzer Awards, basically. So these are our picks. If we had a ballot for the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which we don't, that we would fill in for our picks on the ballot and, you know, share them with you guys. Kind of some fantasy award giving with the Dirt Sheet crowd and that stuff. I'm joined as always by the spearhead, the creator, the Pat Patterson of the Meltzer Awards, if you will, the mighty Moorhouse from Moorhouse HQ. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I've been hearing whispers in the wind. The whispers are telling me to put 2 fingers up. Why are we
Jeff,
putting 2 fingers up? Because this is night 2, baby. Night 2.
I was going to say Jeff Hardy, Whispers in the Wind. What? Anyway. Oh, man. It's going to be good. So when we last left you, we had concluded the Best Television Announcer Award. And so we now jump on to our next award here, which is Best Non-Wrestler. And this is the award that I have changed for this year because of the award winner overall. So, I'll start with AEW, non-WWE. I didn't have a winner for that category until Wrestle Kingdom at the beginning of the month. I didn't think Shaq did enough in AEW, as always. He kind of just wanders into a promotion, says he's going to do something, and then leaves. And everybody else, and I thought Gronkowski was just terrible at WrestleMania. We'll get on that a little bit later on. But for AEW, non-WWE, I have Don Kinashi. Now, if you don't know who Don Kinashi is, do a Google. Basically, Japanese Don King. He did all of the vignette work and a lot of the promotion, and he's a big Japanese celebrity, kind of a viral video type celebrity over there. And he was involved heavily in Wrestle Kingdom 15 in the hype for this and in the rollout for it. He actually even recorded a music video and a song that charted on iTunes over there with Kazuchika Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi. I think Kota Ibushi's involved in it too. Tetsuya Naito was involved in it. Like basically the big four of New Japan. And that's mainstream exposure. That's what this is all about. Best non-wrestler. So that's my pick.
My pick for non-WWE would be, unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of non-wrestling characters this year because of the conditions. So just because he had a big segment on AEW, I'm going to go with Terrible Ted Irvin.
Nice.
They had a hilarious celebration for Jericho segment where they all got custom Ted Irvin jerseys. They had a big party. They invited Virgil out, and it was just, a silly, goofy time.
Inner Circle floating it out there. So there we go.
And then for WWE, I'm going to go with Pat McAfee.
That is the man who the award will be named after from here on out. He did more coming into pro wrestling than any other celebrity has done beforehand. Stephen Amell used to be the standard bearer for this award, in my opinion. Took the bar and rose it like 10 or 15 fold. We're talking about a guy who physically went to the PC, who was seen training with, level 1 recruits at the PC almost every day, and then even spending extra time training up and everything. And it ended up with a solid takeover, eye-opening match with Adam Cole this past summer and on the network. And it was just something that, if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. It is phenomenal.
War Games.
And War Games too. I didn't even touch on War Games. War Games was, he is. I see a lot of Paul Heyman in him. Do you get that Paul E. Dangerously vibe from him a little bit?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a talk piece or manager someday in the future, as well as he has his, Sirius XM show that's very successful.
Yeah.
So he likes wrestling. He's doing it because he's just having fun with it. He's not doing it because he's looking for money or anything.
Right on. So there we go. That's our picks for best non-wrestler for the year. We're going to jump ahead to Rookie of the Year. Now, Rookie of the Year, basically, we're not talking about a pure rookie for 2020 or so. We're not talking about, the kid who just started training, at the beginning of the year in January. And it's kind of threw out there. Some of our rookie picks will have had some past independent experience. However, this will be the qualifier for us is they have to be in year one or completing year one of exposure via a major promotion, i.e. WWE, either in NXT or on the main card, which is very rare now. It's more NXT than anything else. NXT UK, you name it. Or with AEW, showing up on Dark, showing up on Dynamite. New Japan, maybe a Young Lion or something like that, because I think we had Carl Fredericks as a winner last year and that group. So I'll go with my picks first. I'm going to go with WWE Ben Carter because of his amazing work, ironically, in AEW on Dark and on Dynamite earlier in the year. That got him noticed by WWE officials and signed to WWE NXT UK, where he's doing some phenomenal work over there. However, AEW did have a great rookie themselves over on the female side of the ledger. I'm talking about 99 from the Dark Order, Anna Jay.
That's a great choice. She's had a great year last year, and she's made a name for herself. She should be challenging for women's division titles this year, easily.
Yes, absolutely. Either that tag team trophy that Diamante and Ivelisse have with Anna Jay's partner, Ty Conte. I think that they could have a solid run, or there would be a solid program made out of that. Or even whoever the AEW World Women's Champion is. Sheeta, Nyla Rose. I think here's a bold prediction from me for 2021. I think at some point Anna Jay will be the AEW Women's Champion by the end of the year.
Speaking of Dark Order,
right.
my choice is a tag team this year for the newcomers of the year, Rookie of the Year. That would be John Silver and Alex Reynolds.
Wow.
Of the Dark Order. I think they've been really making a name for themselves. They're a very entertaining tag team. They're still young. They have a weird size. Like, they're tall, lanky, and short and stubby.
Yeah.
But I do think they have a lot of potential to become something, and they could win it. I think the Dark Order could win a lot of titles this year.
They are the Roppongi Free K of, or Roppongi Vice, I should say, of AEW. Because remember when Trent was over in New Japan with Rocky Romero, it was kind of an oddball size tag team because Trent is kind of that Alex Reynolds height, tall, lanky, and Rocky was short and stubby, or is short and stubby. You see that just the similarities with John Silver and Alex Reynolds. John Silver will be whatever he wants to be in this business. I think the guy, if he wants to be a manager, he'll be a great manager. I think if he wants to be a talent, he'll be a great talent. If he wants to be a commentator, you name it. Like, I mean, the dude just gets it that I've seen. And that team throughout the year, I kept saying on my Nitro Stakes and that stuff, watch this team. This team is going to be, pretty good by the end of the year. And they're going to be in contention for that AEW tag team title by the end of 2021, or, potentially the rumored trios championship, as Good, Bad, and the Hungy with Hangman Page, right? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential. For WWE, I'm going with the guy who's actually had pay-per-view events this year, and that's Dominic Mysterio. Controversy because his storyline has been awful, and maybe he's not quite ready for prime time, but they gave him the shot. He's in the big matches. He's getting TV time. His storyline is still going on. So I'd say Dominic gets it.
Exactly. And I think that I would agree with you 100% with that. All four great choices for sure. Man, I don't know. Maybe out of those four choices, now that this video is posted and people are seeing it, maybe I will put up on my Twitter account at Kellen Nitro a poll saying, all right, who's your pick for Rookie of the Year out of the major promotions for 2020 out of those four, and see what happens, who the vote goes to. That might be fun. Let's see. Our next one is Pro Wrestling Match of 2020. Two categories here. All of WWE is one, and then AEW and JPW Indies, as we always do, is the other one here. So we'll start with AEW, non-WWE here. Go back to Revolution for me back in February 29th for 2020. Yep, Bucks versus Page and Omega. The tag team match that a lot of people are saying kind of redefined what tag team wrestling means. I think it told a great story. It felt like watching an early WCW 1990s match with the Steiners and maybe Wyndham and Dustin Rhodes or something. That would, that just that vibe. You had the story going in of could Hangman trust Omega, as a partner and that stuff. And there was a little bit of, still the dissension starting to start there. The Bucks challenging, their friends, quote unquote, for the belts as well. And the four of them let it all hang out in that match. That, if you want to watch what AEW tag team wrestling is, that is what that is. That's a great example of it. Like, put it in Voyager and send it to the moon or something, so the aliens can watch AEW. That's what I say.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, Pro Wrestling Match of the Year on the WWE side, even though it had some elements of cinematic to it, I am going to put Edge and Orton at Backlash. The so-called greatest wrestling match ever was definitely the greatest wrestling match out of WWE for the year for me. By those guys. Those guys went on a old school, kind of felt like watching Flair and Steamboat back in the day, like back in 89 or so. Like, it was great. I love the intros that they had where they had the tape of Howard Finkel with the ring announcements and just so on and so forth. Like, that match itself carried that pay-per-view. That match was all of the stars, all of the exclamation points. And, it was a pity that Edge kind of got hurt off of that, and we haven't seen him since. But Orton got elevated to the stratosphere after that one. Like, that 2020 was, a huge year for Randy Orton. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. But your picks for match of the year on the pro wrestling side.
So with the Indies and AEW, I can't argue with you. That was a great pick. That was my pick as well.
Okay.
It was great drama. There was a lot of dissension between the ranks, especially with the Bucks and Hangman, and Kenny kind of trying to be the peacemaker in that whole match. That was fantastic. My choice for WWE side, first match of its time ever. It was Timothy Thatcher, Matt Riddle in the pit match.
Wow.
I absolutely loved that match.
So that is there are a few things from 2020 that I unfortunately missed out on. This was one of them, believe it or not. Like, I did not get a chance to see this pit match. This was on, I think, just a random episode of NXT. It wasn't on a takeover or anything like that. But this is like the Lions Den matches that Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock had back in the day. I would take it, or something similar.
Yeah, it was. So it was the referee on top of the cage, the two wrestlers on the bottom, and they can use the cage for elevation and bouncing off it and doing kicks and using it to their advantage. So it's like an old school UFC match mixed in with the Lions Den match that we used to see with Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock. It was just very entertaining.
Very cool. I'm going to have to check that out for sure.
So that was my match of the year with WWE side. The other match I would have suggested would be the cinematic match between AJ and Undertaker, but I think we're going to have to come up with a new category maybe in the future of real matches versus cinematography matches.
We might have to. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, the best cinematic, there is no best cinematic match category in the Observer Awards at all.
Both companies had them.
But yeah, exactly. Both companies had them throughout the year. And, if we want to talk about it quickly, I think I'd put the Boneyard match. Yeah, the Boneyard match between Undertaker and AJ just slightly above the Stadium Stampede. just
Yep.
slightly in preference, but I think they're both on the same level or so. They're fights. They are no holds barred fights, but it kind of makes them show up like almost like Netflix series or something like that. You know, it's something like the Undertaker AJ thing was built so well, and the pandemic itself, I think, affected the in-ring type match, which was probably a good thing for this situation. Otherwise, we would have had a repeat of what happened at Super Showdown, at WrestleMania, and then that's probably it for the Undertaker, going out fairly poorly, I would say. However, pandemic hits and Taker gets new life as this cinematic guy, because if you're shooting movies with this dude, you can make him look, as strong or as weak as you want. It doesn't matter on physicality. Just, if you don't like how something looks, just shoot another take. That's it.
Yeah, I think they shot it over a 12-hour period, and you could take breaks and rests, and you don't have to overwork the Undertaker because he can't work anymore.
And also dropped one of the memes of the year with AJ on the tractor gloating and thinking that he's got something under control, but then Undertaker just basically doing a Mike Myers thing, stepping up right behind him with AJ oblivious to everything. So and kind of weird that AJ kind of fizzled a little bit during the year and kind of dipped down after that, but he rebounded very nicely by about Survivor Series time or so, and that's on his back on the ascendancy again for sure. Going forward, but so we'll rope that together as I think you and I are in agreement that best cinematic match of the year would be the Boneyard match, followed closely by the AEW Spring Stampede. Sorry, Stadium Stampede. Spring Stampede. Well, it was a Spring Stampede, kind of, sort of.
Is Kevin Nash fighting Sid Vicious?
Oh, what's another notable main event from that one? Macho Man versus Sting. I don't know.
I think there was I think it was Macho Man versus Dennis Rodman.
Okay, yeah, maybe something like that. I have to go back and research that up. So, anyways, best weekly television show. So, best weekly television show. I'm staying in the Wednesday Night Wars for this one. On WWE side, I got NXT. On AEW, I've got Dynamite. Both shows have been so close to each other in ratings at times. AEW is kind of, edged ahead as of late a little bit, but both of them have cracked the million mark over 2020, and they are the wrestling shows that people want to watch on a weekly basis. So,
yeah, there's my other choice for WWE was going to be Superstars, but no, I think NXT is the better choice there. And then my non-WWE choice was originally going to be Monster Pro Wrestling Friday night, but instead I'm going to choose Dynamite for that.
Wow. An Access TV reference, everybody. Only viewers in the YEG region would recognize what we're talking about here. So everybody else would be like, what the hell is he talking about?
But no, the Wednesday Night Wars brought the best out of both brands. They've been bringing it. They've boosted their shows, trying to beat each other. They've made pay-per-view caliber weekly events just to win the ratings.
Phenomenal stuff for sure. We jump ahead to most underrated. Most underrated. So, most underrated for 2020. I've got on WWE. Kind of went off the board with it, but this is an award where you have to go off the board. Shayna Baszler from NXT going to Raw. She's been kind of the universal key tool, or Allen wrench, if you will, for the women's division, where you could just put her anywhere and she does well.
Yeah. I love her like she's a lot like Minoru Suzuki and New Japan. She has that kind of like no nonsense, I just want to break your bone style. She had a falling out with creative, I guess, and she didn't really get a lot of TV time. She had a little bit of a push in the beginning of the year, and then it just fizzled out. And then she's been tag team champions for a little bit now, but whatever. Right. The title doesn't really mean a lot.
So crazy.
For my WWE choice, I'm going with Andrade, who's disappeared off the face of the universe.
Kind of, sort of, like him and Angel Garza with Zelina Vega, they were like masters of the mid card. They had a thing going during the summer months, and man, did that fizzle! And then, whoo, did they get swept under the rug? Like Angel is barely making appearances now on 205 Live.
And Andrade's been missing in action for months now.
We don't know where Andrade is. That's crazy.
I think he's at the Flair house, but
well, okay, fair enough. I like also one of the offshoots of 2020 is Charlotte Flair low key becoming a member of Los Ingobernables. I think that like she's like it's Tetsuya Naito, it's Rush, it's Andrade Cien Almas, and now Charlotte Flair, and it's like, well, wow, this could be potentially, if they work for the same company, one of the greatest factions of all time. But it's just a mishmash now at this point. Wow, it's unreal. For AEW non-WWE, for most underrated, my picks are, well, Dark Order, John Silver, Alex Reynolds. I think that is a tie. I think, like I said earlier, that they were getting better and better with each appearance, to the point where, Full Gear, we had John Silver in a singles match with Orange Cassidy. So very cool. Awesome stuff. So, carry on.
Yeah, my choice. It was between two, but I did make a choice, and it's going to be Brian Cage.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
My reason for Brian Cage is he has a look of being a top contender. He has the ability. He's very skilled in the ring. He even has a mouthpiece to talk for him, because that's his weaker skill. And instead, he's just defending a nonsense title. And
that was one thing that I don't think Impact got when he was their champion, is that he needs a manager or a valet or something to really, be the whipping cream on top of the sundae almost, right? For years on the independent scene, his wife, Melissa Santos, was that valet for him. But now, going forward into the Impact run where he was Impact World Champion, he looks like $1 billion, and this is great super heavyweight that can move and so on and so forth. This awesome body that can do high spots, which is crazy. Great stuff, but his mic skills, a little bit weak, on the weaker side and that stuff. So he goes to AEW. They put him with Taz, who we know how awesome. Well, Taz is a commentator.
He could talk. Taz can
talk. So, and has come out as a heel manager almost for Team Taz, and has put together this stable of mid-card thugs that are going after the TNT title, or upper mid-card thugs and that stuff. And now we've got, Darby Allin as the TNT champion, as a tangible, I guess, what would you call it, heel force to fight with here. So,
but I think Cage should be in the heavyweight picture, not in the mid-card picture.
Oh, I think he will. I think that obviously that's going to be something that they're going to build in 2021, 2022. 2020. You know what I'm saying, folks. But anyways, anyway, so most overrated, Timmy. No, just kidding. Timmy. Most overrated. I had fun with this category. Most overrated. I got Vince McMahon down. That's the most overrated, just due to the fact that, man, creatively,
what are you talking about, pal?
Main roster WWE creatively as a whole in 2020, either Raw or SmackDown, just sucked. Was terrible. And he's the ideas guy. He's the guy that everybody's ideas has to, siphon through. And I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just he's lost his touch, or it's time for fresh blood or what. But
well, he did get fresh blood. He brought back Bruce Pritchard to who's a yes man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, much to Conrad Thompson's chagrin, he did bring back in Bruce Pritchard. So there we go. AEW non-WWE, I've got Jake Hager as my overrated, but with an asterisk. So I put a star beside Jake Hager there, just due to the fact that by the end of the year, the guy really started to kind of find himself a little bit, especially with kind of the on again, off again feud with Wardlow, and going a little bit, even deeper with that, with the inner circle, I should say, and how that group is kind of starting to implode before our eyes slightly, with MJF coming in and that kind of dynamic. I think that kind of corrected him a little bit, but we didn't really see much of him just due to pandemic and you name it. And so that's why I kind of had him as the overrated side. And also just due to the fact that he wasn't focusing on pro wrestling as much as he was more his MMA career, which took off a little bit in 2020. So I thought that for the longest time in 2020, we would have a situation where this would be the first guy AEW would lose to an outside entity outside of wrestling, because Bellator might be offering him more money for fights or something like that. But Jake Hager is there, but that's just because that was a blank spot, and his name was the first one that popped to mind. But there's an asterisk beside that, and he did get better by the end of the year and continues to keep better. So
he's the man who just doesn't talk and just stares at you.
Stop staring at me. Well, he's staring at me. Well, what's going on? So
for my choice, WWE, we're going with The Fiend. The Fiend was awesome when it debuted. They did it well. Then they had him drop to Goldberg in like a minute and a half. And it's never been the same again. They're trying to still be like, oh, he's powerful and he's amazing. If he's powerful and amazing, why did he job to a 55-year-old Jewish man?
Well, our current WWE champion could be doing the job to a 56-year-old Jewish man here coming up.
Which probably will happen
in a couple of weeks here too. Boy, it's Mania season again, folks. The wackiness ensues.
It's Mania season. Call Goldberg, call Brock.
Exactly. So
just the character Bray Wyatt, or The Fiend, has just lost all the dazzle. He's in a Randy Orton feud again, which was kind of the last feud he did before they ended the Bray Wyatt character as well.
Right, exactly. All right,
so with non-WWE,
yeah.
Don't you cut me off, Junior.
Hey, I learned my lesson from last time here. Here we go. I caught myself.
I think the overrated guy in AEW is the chairman of the board, Sean Spears. He brings nothing to the product. He has no character, no charisma, limited skill sets. They paired him with Tully to try have Tully push him up. They've already moved Tully to a tag team role now as a manager. Sean's now finally lost in a wind with no character, and I don't think he may be one of the first guys cut in AEW in 2021.
Wow. Whoa. Yikes.
He's a friend of Cody Rhodes. That's why he got the job.
Current PWA Commonwealth champion too, I believe, as well. Still holding on to that belt.
He's been PWA champion for over a year now.
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah. I mean, I think there was a lot expected from Sean when they started that whole feud with Cody back in 2019 at Fyter Fest and you name it. But there's been a lot of nothing from him in 2020. So,
he did lose his pants and have Tully on his ass for some reason.
Well, that's notable. But anyway,
that was one of his notable things this year.
That's notable, sure. Right. Okay, so our next category here, we've combined the two because they're basically the same thing. So we got best on interviews / most charismatic, and by doing this, it's kind of, put a little bit of a wrinkle in my choice making here for the WWE side. However, AEW, I'll start with that one because that was unanimous across the board. I still got MJF on as for most charismatic, best on interviews. I think there are people now that'll tune in to watch this guy get his ass handed to him week after week after week, and that's the sign of a good heel.
I have no argument there. MJF is the perfect heel. He loves being a heel. He has no fans, and that's what a heel is supposed to do.
Exactly, for sure. WWE. Now, I decided between the two. I had two individuals because at first they were two different awards, but since we combined them, or since they are now combined, I should say, we now have just the one award. So I am going to put Miz and Morrison up as a tie for most charismatic, just ahead of Bray Wyatt. Not The Fiend, but Bray Wyatt. So here's my reasoning with this. Miz and Morrison, I think since they reformed a team last year, it's been back to their obnoxious, late 2000s, early 2010s selves. And that's the best for them. I think that this current storyline with the Money in the Bank, even though it kind of got a weird wrinkle here towards the end of the year where we fought at TLC that Miz had cashed in, then he didn't cash in. It was actually Morrison cashing in for Miz on Miz's behalf. General, I'll just say it's general fuckery at this point, but whatever. I still think that people tune in, same reason, people tune in week after SmackDown to see these guys get their ass handed to them by the babyface. And that's what you want.
Absolutely. They are just your typical obnoxious cocky heels, which they were back, in 2008-9, when they did the whole YouTube program and everything.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, no, that's a great choice. My choice would be the first half best female wrestler, Bayley.
Okay.
I thought she was amazing on mics and interviews. She played her heel persona fantastically. She was a very hated character. Mm-hmm. She beat up everyone and eventually turned on her own tag team partner, Sasha. So Sasha get the baby face support in their little feud. And yeah, no, Bayley's been a perfect heel.
So more recent stuff that we're going to talk about here, actually over the past week or so. Have you had a chance to check out the new talk show segment that they gave Bayley on Friday Night SmackDown yet?
You're making me watch SmackDown.
So I'll take that as a no. But they did a very entertaining bit with Bianca Belair. Bayley's got her new talk show called Ding Dong Hello, which is kind of like think of the set kind of like the old In Your House set, but she's hosting a chat show out of it now, basically in the middle of the ring. So that's that's basically all that is.
And that gives credit to Bayley's skills on mic this year, that they're willing to give her that talk show time, which usually only the top talkers get. You're not going to give a talk show to like Shark Boy.
All right, most improved over the year. I've got for WWE most improved, well, the WWE champion, Drew McIntyre, because I think the belt makes the man, and I think that he improved exponentially over 2020, so much so that they gave him the win at the Royal Rumble. Then they gave him the WWE title. They gave him a long run with the title. He dropped it to Randy Orton, who was having an equally phenomenal year, thinking, hey, there might be some business there between the two of them. Kind of have abandoned that a little bit because I think the lack of crowds and house shows and that stuff does that. So it doesn't give them a very accurate gauge of what, things. People are like, well, why was that program so short? And that stuff is, well, because you're not selling tickets or anything like that. You're relying solely on television ratings right now at this point. So, and then Drew gets it back on a episode of Raw to pop a rating, and here we are. But throughout the year, he's improved, and I think he's definitely world championship material right now.
Yeah, I picked Drew McIntyre as well. He came in, won the Rumble, won the title at Mania, a pretty dominating victory over Lesnar. I think it was a quick match too. And then he's pretty much carried the whole brand on his back until where we are today.
As for AEW, non-WWE, New Japan, you name it, I didn't give it to a single wrestler. I gave it to a promotion as a whole. And I think the most improved as a whole is the AEW talent and locker room over the year of 2020. So that's a blanket. I know it's a blanket selection, but I couldn't pick at least one. There's so many guys, like we talked about Silver and Reynolds already. We talked about Anna Jay already. We've talked about, Darby Allin, Brian Cage, MJF continues to improve. just this young core that AEW has. It's hard to narrow down one. So I'm just going to give it a blanket and just say AEW. There we go. Hell, yes. Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison on Dark. They're becoming a formidable tag team as well. So, yeah, that's probably, I think, what I would like, you know, and it's making the veterans take notice too. Like the veterans are upping their game as well.
I had it down to two choices,
okay.
but again, I'm cutting one out last minute.
Sure.
So my choice is coming from New Japan Pro Wrestling. And this would be the man who turned on Los Ingobernables, and that would be Evil.
He was IWGP again. He was IWGP champion for a certain point in 2020.
He was champion. He was TV champion. He created a lot of exposure with this turn. He became, I don't know if he quite made the main event scene yet, but he's getting close. He's definitely on the, you know, very close to hitting that peak. He's going to be a title contender. He's, you know, if Jay White returns to New Japan this year, Evil and Jay White are going to have a huge feud of who's going to be leading the Bullet Club going forward. However, I wouldn't count out Kenny Omega from coming to New Japan and making it a three-way dance.
There we go. So that will be something to watch for sure. That's a great choice, by the way. That's awesome. Tag Team of the Year is up next. Tag Team of the Year on the WWE side, I'm going to give it to the newly aligned, I guess, New Day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Even with Big E in the mix. They had a podcast that dropped during 2020 that's very popular. They had some great matches. You know, they've helped put the Street Profits over in that big feud around Survivor Series or so this year, and elevate them a little bit. So they doing what they have to do, but they still are the tag team to watch on WWE programming after all these years. They're the one tag team that you can watch day in and day out and expect, you know, an awesome showing from them. So
they should be called the New Day Trophy. They've been battling since 2015 and winning this award since then.
Yeah, exactly. I think, again, this is the same award that you can look back at the Meltzers from 17 that we did, and 18 and 19 and now. So there we go.
My WWE choice is not New Day this year, though.
Okay.
I'm going with a group of gentlemen who kind of ushered in the return of that Nation of Domination vibe, and that would be the Hurt Business.
Hurt Business, yes. I think we mocked them earlier in part one, but we'll put them over here.
We did mock them. We mocked the group they were feuding with.
I put the Feud in as the worst feud of the year, yes, but
the guys, the team, it's really cool.
It's good.
They have that cool vibe. They remind me of NWO mixed with the Nation of Domination.
They're kind of get the elite urban American vibe that these are star athletes doing star athlete things and they don't care.
They're big money.
Yep, huge money. And It was weird when MVP made that one-off appearance during the Rumble last year as a legend coming in. I was like, okay, well, that's kind of strange, but, you know, cool, whatever. But hey, obviously this was leading up to something more, and he's been one guy that's really benefited from the pandemic. So,
yeah, he's got a full-time job again. He's the mouthpiece of the group. Cedric's in there, you know, Shelton's in there, as well as Big Bobby Lashley, and they're just, you know, they just have that cool vibe. They're just fun to watch. They're great, cool heel group that they have going on there.
We are down to our final handful of awards here with Feud of the Year up next. WWE sides.
Skipping the independent tag team.
Oh, did we? My independent tag team. Yes, thank you.
Which I believe we probably have the same choice.
Young Bucks.
Oh, no, we do not have the same choice.
I put Young Bucks in there just because they've done a lot for AEW, not only on the tag team side, but also on the scouting side, because you have all these brand new tag teams that these guys have scouted for the indies and whatever that are now starting to come in, like your the Acclaimed, the numerous amount of teams. It's so numerous that I can't, all the names are coming back to be. Top Flight, that's who I was thinking of too. Top Flight's another group from Minnesota there that they scouted and brought in. They're building their tag team division as they go, and it is glorious.
Speaking of their tag team division, my choice is probably the closest you'll get to 1980 style wrestling. That's FTR.
All right, yeah, the FTR Express.
Yeah. On a personal level,
Mm.
seeing them live in Edmonton, they're probably that's one of my favorite matches I've ever seen. Is a local house show they did in Edmonton. It's up there with Cactus Jack versus Randy Orton, which I've also seen live.
Were they on the house show that we were at last year? Okay, yeah.
They were fighting Rude and Gable.
Oh yes, okay, right.
And that was like a 25-minute, classic of, Hot Tag and Pereira. They played that 10 or 15 minutes.
I remember now. And then we thought that was match of the night, but then Sasha and Becky came out and just had a real barn burner, straight fight, tear up ringside type thing between two girls. And I was like, this is next level. I love it. This was, they had a lot of aggression that they needed to work out, which is good. So
it's nice to see FTR finally get a bit more creative control and get to control their characters and destiny, because if they stayed in WWE, they were going to be like a very comedy gimmick. They were proposed to wear suspenders and goofy ties and goofy hats.
Yep, exactly. So they came over to AEW. They got paired with Tully Blanchard, and now they are amazing over there. They had a run already with the AEW tag team titles. So, we'll see what happens in 2021. I'm pretty sure they'll probably get another run with those before the end of the year for sure. So, okay, now I can do my big intro. All right. We are down to the final handful of awards here. We're going to start with, the final four horsemen of the Meltzer Awards. The Feud of the Year. Across the board. So we'll start WWE. I think that the Feud of the Year was Edge and Orton, led up to the long WrestleMania match, but the equally as epic and great. And we already talked about the Backlash match, and there was more planned, folks. It's just Edge got hurt. And the cool part, though, is we'll wait and see about that storyline, I guess, coming to fruition in 2021.
Yeah.
To be continued.
And my choice for WWE is Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre.
There we go.
Again, they traded the title a few times between each other. They had 3 or 4 straight pay-per-view matches. They were all, pretty decent matches. They're not, 5-star matches, but they're good matches with storytelling. That's all you need.
That's all we need, indeed. Absolutely. You got it. So that's great choices for the WWE side Feud of the Year. AEW, non-WWE, a New Japan Pro Wrestling Feud of the Year had some numerous choices for that. I had for the longest time Evil and Naito in as Feud of the Year for New Japan, but there was one feud that I thought topped them all. Omega and Moxley over the AEW championship. I think that was just sick, and nobody expected the ending for this thing that we got. This was just a clash again of two guys that have been warring since AEW went on the air, and yeah, that was it. So
my choice is a feud that started the year, and we were going to get War Games, but unfortunately COVID canceled the War Games. This was Inner Circle versus Elite.
Yes. Yep. The Blood and Guts. This would have been interesting. It was due the week after Brody Lee and Matt Hardy were to have, I think a couple of weeks or something like that, after they had debuted in Rochester, and then I think the next week would have been Newark.
It was supposed to be in New Jersey. Yeah.
Yep. Newark, New Jersey, AEW Blood and Guts. They had advertised it in that type of match, that stuff. And I don't know if that would have been a cinematic. I don't know if that would have been a real War Games type thing. I think they said that they were building the infrastructure for it. We know AEW has a cage because we've seen it in 2019 between Cordy and Wardlow. So, maybe it would have took place in that structure. I don't know, but yeah, bated breath. Hopefully that match can take place in 2021. I initially had thought that the Stampede, the Stadium Stampede, would have been Blood and Guts, but just in an empty football stadium, but kind of, the old school Crockett style War Games, double cage type thing. But they went cinematic with that. So maybe it continues. Maybe we see that idea. Maybe we don't. Who knows?
But it's been a good feud. I mean, the feud continued on to Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara right after, which were also members of that feud. Also, where can you see a man continually German suplex a man across a football field?
That's like one of those videos on YouTube that you can loop for 10 hours and just it's like ASMR and you can just relax and they just de-stress or something like that. Man, Sammy Guevara is 2020. The poor guy was up and down all over the place.
He had some of the problems that, you know, with the whole Me Too movement.
That's right. Yeah. No,
and then he came back and got beat up by Gangrel.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of fell on, you know, that's more along the lines of, you know, the podcaster that made that public trying to get over again, who he has a past history of doing so, and I'm not afraid of him admitting it and that stuff. He, you know, being witness firsthand of what he's done and that stuff, he's always tried to, you know, put himself over the, you know, the on-screen talent and that stuff and whatever. And, you know, I think Sammy was just a victim in that situation, even though it was a public statement that he had made on that show, you know, weeks or, you know, years, I should say, before that. But, you know, no need to drudge that back up, but that's just my quick, you know, opinion on that. Take that as you will. So best box office draw for 2020, WWE. Brock Lesnar still, to me, is the best box office draw that they got, because what was the whole point of the Royal Rumble? The whole point of the Royal Rumble on the men's side was who the hell was going to knock out Lesnar out of the Rumble match, because he had the belt and he had signed up for the Rumble match. And the whole storyline with him was he was going to win the Rumble match and take WrestleMania off, because, you know, winner of the Rumble gets a shot at WrestleMania at the whatever title he wanted. Or, you know, maybe he would have had a title for title unification against, I guess it would have been Goldberg. I guess. Oh boy. Yee. Anyway, but yeah, so that's my pick for the best box office draw for WWE. AEW, non-WWE, proof positive, a little less than 24 hours ago, Impact Wrestling had their Hard to Kill pay-per-view that might be doing some record numbers. We don't know exactly what the numbers will be unless Impact says what they are here in a few days or so. But Kenny Omega, this guy is the guy that you want to see. He is the Connor McDavid right now of pro wrestling. He is the, you know, named the best basketball player, best baseball player right now. He is it in pro wrestling.
So I'm going to disqualify Kenny Omega. I think he's going to win 2021.
Okay.
Because he didn't win the title till the end of the year.
Okay.
So my choices for WWE is The Dead Man, The Undertaker, for best box office draw.
Yeah.
The only reason why I watched Survivor Series was just to see The Undertaker's retirement. I would consider that a box office draw.
Obviously it. Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And then WrestleMania, he had the best match, you know, the most entertaining match. He was a box office draw for that.
It was WrestleMania. What are you going to watch it for? To see who the Undertaker's fighting, right?
Exactly. So, I usually it would be Brock, but Brock only played the first quarter this year of 2020. So
I thought he did enough, but anyway,
he did quite a bit. And then AEW non-WWE would be Jon Moxley. I think he was the biggest draw for AEW. He's well over. He gets the audience to talk. He has very, I wouldn't say that his matches are entertaining, as more if they're sometimes watching a train wreck, because they get very gruesome. There's a lot of blood and guts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree with that for sure. Yeah, those are all great choices for best box office draw for 2020. We got two more left. We've got most outstanding wrestler, WWE side, Randy Orton, AEW non-WWE side, Kenny Omega. Those are my picks for most outstanding wrestler for 2020. Randy Orton, of course, had just an amazing year, and Kenny Omega, you know, we talked about it, is the man right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about these guys for the last two shows that we've done.
Yeah.
There's not much more we can say. We're getting to the nitty gritty here. It's kind of like the Oscars, you know, we already talked about the movie 20 times. What more can you say? So Kenny Omega, great choice. That was my choice as well for AEW non-WWE. For WWE, it's actually a guy we haven't talked about yet, and that's Adam Cole, baby.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, let's elaborate a little bit on Adam Cole's 2020. Had a great year. Kind of seen the shift of Undisputed Era from a heel faction to a face faction because of the Pat McAfee factor and so on and so forth, and just that feud towards the end of the year. So.
Yeah, no, he's turning face, the group's face. I still think there's going to be dissension probably in 2021 with the group.
Probably, yeah.
It's time. They've been together for 4 or 5 years, which is a long time in wrestling.
Yeah.
And then, Cole's still the face of NXT. He's their best talented performer. He's one of their best talkers. I wouldn't be surprised him and Kyle, start up their rivalry that they had in Ring of Honor again.
There we go. That would have been great, or that will be great, I should say, if that comes to pass. And it's time, mostly because my camera's down to its last 10 minutes of battery, so we better get this in. It is time for our version of Best Actor, our version of, MVP, our version of the Top Dog. It is the Lou Fez Ric Flair Award for Wrestler of the Year. And last year we did Wrestlers of the Decade because it was the end of the decade. We're not going to do that this year because when we talk decade, look what happened to 2020. So let's try to put that under the rug there. Moorhouse is just looking at his face like, what the hell is he talking about? Anyway, whatever. So WWE, my pick for Wrestler of 2020 is the Viper, Randy Orton. I again had an amazing year of just an upward swing. You could tell they were doing something special with Randy Orton the moment he got eliminated by Edge at the Royal Rumble, and just the amount of time that they had with him on the camera and that stuff, and the way he acted. It was one of the best Rumble eliminations I think I've seen in quite some time, for sure. So he just edges out Drew McIntyre, in my opinion, for Wrestler of the Year in WWE. And in AEW, it is Jon Moxley that is the Wrestler of the Year for holding on to the belt through the pandemic like he did from February on to December almost. Was, I think, their longest reigning champion. Maybe he equaled the reign that Jericho had in terms of days and that stuff, but made the belt. That's what you got to do.
Superb choices again. Talked about him 1,000 times. Randy Orton, he's going to be an instant Hall of Famer when he retires. He's my choice for WWE. He was all over the television set in 2020.
Right.
Multiple feuds with Edge and with Drew and with Bray and also bringing back his Legend Killer persona a bit. So Randy, he had a tremendous year. He's currently the John Cena of the company since John Cena left, so he's taken over those keys and rolling with it. With AEW non-WWE, Jon Moxley held the title, for most of the year. Main evented, had some high-profile feuds with Jericho and Kingston, and a little bit with Cage when he came in. And then I think he had a feud with Jake Hager at one time too.
He did, yeah.
Lost it eventually to Omega. But I think just so he could move to Japan for a little bit and do some New Japan stuff, which he needs to finish up. But yeah, Jon Moxley had a strong year. I also would have said Wardlow could have been top choice there. Sarcasm.
If you're going Wardlow, I'm going with Scarlett Bordeaux.
Luther was the 2020 Wrestler of the Year.
I'm going with Scarlett Bordeaux because of her assets, but anyway, we'll just put it that way. For Wrestler of the Year. Man, that's it. That's 2020 in a nutshell. That's another year to Meltzer's. Moorhouse, thank you again. This has been year 4 for us doing this, and this is always fun. This is always something. This is an idea that you pitched to me way back in the day to do on the channel, and it's always a blast. So thank you again. And I will we'll spell it out right now. Last show, he didn't have social media, but huge announcement here at the end of the show. You're on Twitch, my friend.
I am. I'm gaming on Twitch and starting to build a community. Slowly growing from already 1 to 26 people. So, I mean, that's progress. We'll take it. Once you get 50, that's when you get the affiliate status, and you start to make a little bit of money on it.
Nice.
So, yeah, definitely follow me and help me get to that point.
So you can check him out on Twitch gaming at That House in Canada. That House in Canada. You'll see it fonted at the bottom there. I am not on Twitch as of yet, but I am looking to potentially maybe be there. Maybe 2021's year. Who knows? But right now, you can reach me on the old-fashioned social medias. We got the Facebook group. Look for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. We've got my Twitter account at Kella Nitro. Comments down below. Our email, nitromaniactv@gmail.com. Or you can hit me out on Instagram, same thing, at Kella Nitro, and look at all my pretty pictures. So there we go. No OnlyFans either. I know that was a thing in 2020, but if you see a Kella Nitro on OnlyFans, that's not me. I don't know what to say about that. So
funny story about OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, so I kept calling it Fans Only, and my wife just thinks it's hilarious.
I might start one for plants and just call it Only Plants. Or some people can pay a subscription price to look at pictures of flowers or something like that. So, anyways,
or is it going to be plants in a wrestling crowd?
There we go. Hey, that might be the way it goes.
Stunt grannies, more stunt grannies,
stunt granny fans. So there we go. Anyways, later days, happy wrestling watching, folks. We'll see you next time here on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Do take care, stay safe, wash your hands, and watch lots of wrestling and comment on our stuff. Share the link, share the video. Bye, folks.